Okay, it says
thing is acting kind of.
All right. We are live. Salute to everybody that's out there. It's Friday evening, August 9th. And this is the Friday night chop session with Stormybman. And we are coming to you live to bring you another evening of boxing talk. And this evening I got rolling with me the odd fella, and I will look to have some more people on here with us, but we welcoming back our fella who's been away for a little bit. Glad to see you out there, brother. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm good. Glad to be back on the, on the show, the chop session in the dig. Hopefully some other brothers will fall in as well. Join us tonight. Because we got there's definitely some news in boxing we can discuss and politic on and just continue to build on. So yeah, that's what's up. How you been, Stormy D?
Yes, sir. Man, it's been an interesting week. There's a lot of different things going on out here, man. I don't know about you, but the latest boxing news is just, my head is swimming a little bit because I was looking to possibly talk about a couple of things in particular, but it's like the news is changing almost by the hour. It's like different things coming up. I know I heard a little bit of 78's stream just before I got in. I was listening while I was en route, and it was like some interesting stuff he was talking about on there, with some of these fights that, where they're taking place and different things like that. So it's like it's kind of crazy, man. It's kind of crazy. I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of what we're looking at right now in the sport of boxing. It seems like every time something really good happens, that some people are going out of their way to make sure that, you know, the sport remains, you know, sub quality or something. I don't understand that, man. I mean, do you kind of get that sense of things too when you look at how things are taking place in the sport of boxing right now?
No, not so much. I mean, it is hearsay, but of course, the news came out with the so-called news of the confirmation between AJ and Ruiz in Saudi Arabia. 85 million. You know what I mean? It's a big fight. You know what I mean? So we did this Regis Prograde Brona being talked about and whatnot. You know what I mean? And this is after if he gets through Josh Taylor, those are good fights right there. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think things are looking up. You know what I mean? Be optimistic a little bit with the welterweight division. You know what I mean? We're at least seeing a unification coming to fruition with Porter and Sean Errol Spence. You know, dig? Pacquiao still in the wings, looking for that unification there. Who knows what happens with Bud? But we've always been shitting on the light heavyweight division, 175. We actually have a confirmation and a secured spot in Philadelphia for the Alexander Vostok fight versus Artur Beterbiev. Unification, 175. I think things are looking up. I mean, as far as Saudi Arabia goes with regards to AJ and Ruiz, to me, it's kind of suspicious. You know what I mean? In more ways than one, because I anticipated the fight. I think many people anticipated this fight happening earlier than December, which may mean that AJ really needs the time to, you know what I mean, to lessen his weight and relearn his craft in order to, you know what I mean, at least make a legitimate challenge against Andy Ruiz. And who else? We don't even know what other shenanigans are going in the background, because this is what, you know what I mean, I suspect with why Saudi Arabia is in play. You know, because the whole thing came with Eddie Hearn making the deal. Apparently, Andy Ruiz is getting $9 million for this as well. You know what I mean? And he agreed to that when there's $85 million on the table. I mean, but yeah, I don't know. This is some suspicious things going on with this whole fight. There's not even like the venue that they're saying it hasn't even been built yet. I looked at the location, and I don't know if Google Maps was up to date in Saudi Arabia, but there's not much out there. I mean, as far as other facilities and other things like housing, residential, commercial, it's really pretty much the end of the road as far as the suburbs go. Yeah, I'm real suspicious about this fight and this location. That's the only kind of, I would say, dark cloud that's kind of looming over boxing right now is the suspicion of this fight that is taking place in Saudi Arabia. 2 fights of other fights I've seen have taken place in Saudi Arabia, and the first one being the World Boxing Super Series fight that happened last year, successfully. George Groves got stopped by Callum Smith. The second one being Amir Khan against Billy Dibb. And that just happened, a month back? And both of those fighters apparently haven't got paid. So, Saudi Arabia right now is batting 500. So, what you got to say about that, y'all?
Well, before we go any further, I just want to welcome a couple of the people that's in the chat that's out there. You know, Reggie Owens is now on the panel with us, and also Joseph Brown and Derek McGee. Want to say salute, and I want to say salute to everybody that's out there listening, and salute and shout out to the LDBC, all the other channels, and the brothers and sisters out there doing their thing. As I have come into what I'm trying to do going forward, you know, having you brothers on here with me to talk about the various topics on this Friday night show, it's just to get, you know, more of the voices out there and opinions out there about what's transpiring. I don't have a particular angle on anything. As I said, as we opened, the information is changing so quickly. I don't even have I don't have a chance to have an opinion or thought about it, because it's like information is just changing. It's like, my goodness, social media is making it where, like, you're getting the news so fast. It's just, you know, and so you do have to, if you have a little bit of life experience on your hands, you kind of have to maintain a little bit of reserve and allow things to manifest and give it some time before you actually start cooking on too much too fast. So I will say that. And when I made my comment about how boxing is, you know, subpar, what I was trying to say, fella, was that as we're seeing the good things that are happening in the sports, like you can get a good fight. You know, the Pacquiao Thurman fight was a good fight. The fights that we have on the horizon, we've got Porter and Earl Spence Jr. getting ready to fight. Great things to look forward to. Things that have transpired. But then you get that news of like what transpired with, you know, like Tyson Fury, how he's talked about, you know, what they're talking about, who his next opponent will be and things like that. And it's like, here we go. You know, so I have like a little bucket list that I created here for some topics that we can touch on as we go through the show. But it doesn't have to be limited to this, but it is content that I do feel like I want to hear what you guys have to say about various subjects. And we can go like clockwise around, beginning with what you see on the screen there with Tyson Fury. But before we even go any further, I want to welcome Reggie Owens. What's happening with you, brother? How you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing good, man. Just enjoying. Happy to hear what we got to talk about. It's a lot of, like you said, a lot of news coming out very quickly. So man, I can't wait till we get into it and hear each other's opinions on it.
Yeah, isn't it wild, man, how fast things are happening? It's like, you know, today we get something, and then by the end of the day we get something else, and then before the night is over, another shoe drops, and it's like, shoot, you know, before I can get my notes together, before I could, you know, that's why I say you kind of have to let things cook a little bit to see what's true, what's not, and to give yourself a chance to step back, because sometimes things get thrown in the fire like that to cause a distraction from something else that's really interesting and that you should really be paying more attention to, and it's calling attention away from that. Like, I ain't forgot about that dude, the Lycan, Dillian White. I knew people were going to slow down as far as talking about that guy, but I ain't done with him. You know, that bringing that different pair of gloves in there at the last minute and everything. That guy is a bona fide cheat, man. And I am not going to let that go. This guy, he's a disgrace. And even how he's represented sitting over there with the boss, you know, and smiling and grinning and everything when they're totally denigrating him publicly and anybody like him publicly. And I'm not done with that guy yet. But we can kick this off. I made a little collage there. And as you see on the screen, it says Tyson Fury, Union Fat, at it again. Now, that's a little play on Union Jack, you know, because he's from the UK. But I call him Union Fat because if you see, he's got plenty of tub around the waistband of those so-called red, white, and blue stars and stripes shorts that he's wearing. I don't know who he thought he was impersonating, but he didn't impersonate anybody that I'm familiar with. But, you know, we can go ahead and lay into that real hard and heavy if you guys like. And then we can begin with you, Reggie.
Yeah, about this clown Fury, man. Disgrace, man. It's nothing. Not even like to think about this dude. And I'm like really hoping that the guys who have skin in the game begin to play this dude out. You know, really freeze this dude out. Let him stick to fighting Swedish unknowns until he finds his way up out the game, man. And unless ESPN, Bob Arum gets smart and null and void that damn stupid contract they didn't sign this buffoon into. But even with Wallen, man, I'm gonna put support behind Otto Wallen so he can come in and pull off this you know, monumentous upset and hopefully knock this dope fiend fool out. But this dude's been true ashamed heavyweight, man. He's become an abomination to the sport of boxing. He doesn't represent it. He belongs back into a crack house. Also, that gypsy community, they need to come down on this fool because he ain't nothing but a con man. He ain't a gypsy. He's nothing more than a white British citizen who, like I state, just went on weekly camping trips with his family and returned back to wherever middle-class suburb they lived into. But this is a dude who kind of takes advantage of kind of fitting in with folks who may come from the struggle and him fitting himself in to kind of gain, you know, respect and praise from particular segments of a community. But he's no more than a fraud on every end of shit he tries to take advantage of, from whether it's to be in a recovered dope fiend to being part of this gypsy community, which I truly doubt that he's a part of. What gypsy has the ability to travel around and be a part of this boxing game? I doubt they are gypsies.
Yes, sir. I agree 100%. You know, even in that's a story, you know, to sell tickets. You know, if anything, he may be one hell of an actor. Huh? Ain't nobody thought about that. A dope fiend actor. Huh? All right, fella, what you got?
I'm not mad at Tyson Fury for fighting a German bouncer. I'm not upset that Tyson Fury is going to be fighting a Swedish meatball cook, an undefeated Swedish meatball cook at that. I'm upset. I'm outraged at ESPN. I'm outraged at these other boxing publications that exalt and put this Tyson Fury dope fiend up at number one in the heavyweight division ahead of Deontay Wilder, when his only credible opponent in five fights has been Deontay Wilder, and he was lucky to get a draw out of that. He fought Francisco Pianetta, Cephas Fury, Tom Schwartz, and now he's going to be fighting Otto Whalen. And this is what the ESPN has as their number one #1 heavyweight in the world. Ain't got a single belt. Shouldn't even have the lineal belt because the man tested positive for nandrolone. Now, I ain't even talking about the recreational drugs that he partakes of because we know he's a dope fiend. But I'm talking about that nandrolone. I don't care about that. You know what I mean? People always forget that him and his cousin got popped. They blamed it on eating an uncastrated boar. You in the dig? They blamed it on. So the fact remains is that they admitted to having it in their system. This is back, you know what I mean, in the times when he was supposed to rematch Klitschko. All of a sudden, the man goes on a 2-year hiatus, coke binge, gets his license reinstated, and a 2-year backdated ban by the British Boxing Board of Control. We've heard that. We've heard that institution before, haven't we? With this Dillian White situation. You in the dig? So, yeah, I'm not mad at Tyson Fury. I'm mad at the institutions around him, specifically these boxing publications, specifically ESPN, Top Rank, allowing this, you know what I mean, foolishness to go on. Like, well, what did they expect to get out of this fighter? He didn't even I don't think he pulled five grand at his last fight in Las Vegas. They didn't even release the numbers, because the numbers, I don't think it was on ESPN. I think it was on the app. So we don't even know the numbers of how many viewers tuned into that. But if it was good, then you know they would report on it. It was horrible. And once again, they pull up with a dud with a Swedish unknown. You know what I mean? The meatball cook, the IKEA floor manager, Otto, holla. You know, dig? This is absolutely ridiculous for a so-called lineal champion. He should be stripped of that title. He should be stripped of that title. Once again, the man tested positive for nandrolone, which is a steroid. So once again, I'm outraged by everything surrounding Tyson Fury. You know what I mean? There's plenty of fighters that are fighting guys that we don't want, that we feel that should be fighting other fighters that are better, the best fighters in the division. You know what I mean? But he's definitely one of them. But it's a shame that these boxing publications, such and so forth, are exalting him so high. It's ridiculous, and it's a shame. It's a disgrace to the sport, and a disgrace and a slap in the face to a great champion like Deontay Wilder. That's my take on that.
Well, let me come in on that. You are correct when you say that we should be angry at the nefarious group of personnel that operate around him, whether they're managing, promoting, have signed him, and are featuring him on their broadcast networks, venues, and even various promotional affiliations. But man, fuck that. I'm mad at him too. Okay? That guy fought a fight with Deontay Wilder where he came away having survived after being assisted in a fight that, to me and to many others, pretty much ended in a controversial manner. most people feel the man was knocked out. Though he got up and was able to finish the round after being awakened and resurrected and given electroshock treatment and everything by this referee Reese, who hasn't done that for anybody else, by the way. Let's just look at it for what it is and what was in the man's system that allowed him to snap back like that, because that's not normal. What was normal was him laying on the canvas with his eyes affixed to the stars above the ring, which were the lights, because they were indoors. But he was out. Okay? Now, Wilder, being the man of integrity that he is, looked to try to ensure a rematch by offering this man a generous offer of a split purse. And they could run it back right away, within a certain amount of time, months or whatever, to get prepared and whatnot. Even though he had the offer in his hand and was waiting to sign it, then he dropped it at the last second and went over there with these mongrels who are continuing to ruin the sport at every aspect and turn that they can through various weight classes and sanctioning bodies, assistance as they can. And I won't mention his name, but you guys know who I'm talking about. The old dude, okay? Over there. And I'm mad at Tyson Fury because, as a dope fiend does, he's showing absolutely no integrity, okay? No trust, huh? Nothing to actually get behind and support. He actually tried to use, during the entire promotion of going into his fight with Deontay Wilder, his bouts with depression and the fact that he was, trying to recover from his drug binge and this and that. And because of the color of his skin, because of he was from a different place and people didn't really know, people got behind that and thought that that was really a story. The world is full of dope heads, postal people, police officers, firemen, mailmen, whatever. It's like a lot of people have chemical dependency, man, huh? And they go to work. You wouldn't even know that they're addicts, functional drug addicts, not just the kind that lay down in the crevices in the alleys and things like that, but people who actually work side by side next to you, huh? Can't wait for happy hour when the work is over. Alcohol is a drug too. Okay? So when you look at this guy and everybody want to kind of like slap him on the wrist and everything like that, I want to slap him across his head. You understand? Punch him in his eye and his face, because he's getting what other people can't get. Huh? And I think about Jermaine Taylor. Huh? This brother really has some real problems. Where's the welcome wagon for him? That's just an example. There are far many others. And many others who need to be behind bars for some of the things they do. Sergey Kovalev, huh? Should be locked up. Wild rabid animals. You know what they do? They put them down. Huh? They put wild rabid animals down. Where's the committee for Sergey to put him down? Tyson Fury need to be put down. Oh, I forgot. Deontay did put him down, but they tried to bring him back up. They hoisted him up. Huh? This is the way I feel about this. And again, I don't care what anybody say. That's what it is. He gets no respect here. And none of those people who are holding him up get any respect either. They're despicable. Because if you can't do it for all, don't do it for that one. Because you're showing that favoritism to that one. And in a sport where people are taking blows upside the head, and CTE is a real thing, There's something that needs to be done by the peddlers of flesh and those whose flesh are being peddled and taken advantage of tremendously in this sport. That's all I have to say about him at this time.
Well said. Well said.
Indeed.
There was something also in the news about there was a I'm trying to remember because it came in a couple of days ago. Reggie, that last stream that you did you cover something that came through recently? I got so much information in my mind right now, it's like overload.
I think the most recent video I put up was the one that related Anthony Joshua speaking on the fact that making up the excuses for his loss being partially due to him not fully focusing on Andy Ruiz, being partially he was focused on Deontay Wilder.
Oh, okay, that I remember that. We can save that for the Joshua segment here in this what we're going over.
Right on.
Because we can make it a totality, because that segment will be about Joshua. Odd fella, because you haven't been with us in a little while, what can you tell us that has hit your ears or eyes about what's happening on the lower weights right now? Is there something stimulating that's going on with that? And don't mind about the Broner Prograde thing, because that's our next thing that we'll cover off of our topics that I've put the bullet points.
As far as the lower weight class, the one thing that catches my ear is the T.O. issue, or the T.O. story, how he seems reluctant to now get in the ring against Richard Comey. Seems like he's doing a little bit of soul searching, because that Japanese Masayoshi Nakataki might have took a little piece of his soul in a dig, and he's catching some stage fright all of a sudden. So we'll see what happens with this going on, because I believe the IBF just officially ordered Richard Comey to fight Teofimo Lopez. So will he come to the table? Time will tell, and we'll see if he grows his balls back. Other than that, waiting to see Nonito Donaire against Naya Inoue. I think Naya Inoue is a little bit of a hype job. I want to see him in there with more of the other belt holders and champions at his weight class. Even a guy that's highly ranked in for his sanction of body, a guy like Louis Neary. There's guys like Nordine Bali. I need to see defeats like him take out guys like that before we start calling him a monster. But I'm definitely interested in that fight between him and Nonito Donaire. I don't give much chance to the Filipino Nonito Donaire. I think he's past his prime, even though that some believe that he's big for that weight. But I still believe that coming down in weight and at his age will lessen his punch resistance, especially to a so-called vaunted power puncher like Naya Inoue. But other than that, see Shakur Stevenson, it seems that Oscar Valdez is defected. The old let me vacate my belt and defect to the Division South, or the Division Up, and so he's looking at trying to get Miguel Burchelt in the ring instead of handling his business with Shakur Stevenson. So it seems like Shakur Stevenson is turning into somewhat of a boogeyman. You know, dig? But yeah, that's my take on the lower weights that I can think of that caught my ear in the last in the last week or so.
Yeah, Nonito coming down. I have reservations about that as well, because Nonito, he may find himself in the same position Oscar De La Hoya found himself in against Manny Pacquiao, and he hasn't fared very well since losing a couple of times, you know, by stoppage. He's one of those fighters that didn't come back boxing and showing that he's learned. He's been carefully guided beyond guys who could hurt him, you know, physically, and he's very limited in his boxing skills. Once he had found that his left hook was strong enough to get positive results, that's all he became reliant upon, but he never really became a complete fighter. I do feel that he's food for this young man that he's going in there against, and it wouldn't surprise me if it looks like kind of exciting in the first couple of rounds, but I expect Inoue to come through and take care of business in spectacular fashion, unless Nonito decides to, you know, retire on his stool in the corner like De La Hoya did. I mean, that's not out of the question as well. How do you see it, Reggie?
I can see Inoue going in and destroying this. I'm not going to the fact that Nonito being the veteran in this game, in that matchup. And I always give, vets a chance in fights when it comes to them fighting younger, up-and-coming stars of the game. As we've seen, Marcus Brown had to learn that lesson as well. Klitschko almost taught it to Anthony Joshua. So these older fighters become dangerous at times to these younger fighters who kind of go into fights overlooking these veterans. So Donito being kind of the more experienced fighter in this match, he can probably exploit some things with this young fighter. One of the good things with older fighters is timing, as younger fighters overcommit on things, try to over-pursue things, playing too much in the crowd. Could pose a risk for Inoue. But if Inoue is to go in here, display a great level of ring generalship, intelligence inside that ring, and fight a smart fight, which he does seem to be a smart fighter. Those Japanese guys are coming from some great teaching up over there. He may go in here, be patient, and build up for the knockout. And when he finds it, he goes in and pursue it. But I see him pulling this one off. The thing was brought up about the Regis fight and how that fell off. And I wonder if that may be the issue with Donito and them, is because whoever's the backers behind that World Series things, man, this money thing is constantly becoming a thing that's plaguing that series, as we had another fighter end up pulling out of that thing about a month ago. But hopefully they can figure that out, resolve it. But Prograis look like he's done. Him and his team look like they're done with this World Series of boxing thing. I think even a few years ago that was the same case with this brand here, is not paying these fighters. But Prograis having that bout lined up, possibly with him and what's that cat, Adrian Broner, that would be a huge fight right there. And I think that may be something that may be more attractive for Regis Prograis, is about between himself and Adrian Broner. That'd be real attractive right there. And that's all I got on that.
Well, that's a great segue, brother, because what I was going to bring up next was simply the possibility, after the jawing that's been going back and forth between these two gentlemen. What do you men think about the prospects of a fight between Adrian Broner and Regis Prograis? at this time, with the news that just again came in within the past few hours of Prograis possibly being very unhappy with the what is it, the WBSS? I don't know these letters and acronyms, but that program where all these young fighters were fighting on it for the championship, you know, he's thinking about pulling out. They're talking about he's thinking about it, and I don't know, maybe the fact that he and Broner jawing publicly on social media and in the open as they have been on in front of cameras and whatnot could be something that they're looking to work on and had been working on behind the scenes before it got let out to the public. So what do you guys think about that? Coming right back to you, Reggie, on that first.
Man, I got Prograis, but I do think Adrian.
Hey, your audio's dropping out a little bit there, Reggie. Reggie?
Yeah, I'll just chime in.
Yeah, Reggie, drop out and come back in because something happened with your audio. Odd fella, you pick it up and then let Reggie come right back in, you know, after you're done.
Indeed. Yeah, I still believe this fight is going to go down. This happened with, in the round before, I think it was Ivan Barancek that was threatening to pull out the fight with Josh Taylor. The fight ended up happening. We saw an exciting fight, and Josh Taylor was challenged, but came out with the victory. I believe this fight is going to go down. They'll finagle some type of way to get this money, you know what I mean, proper for Regis Prograis. For all we know, this might be a tactic to, you know what I mean, to get the World Boxing Super Series on their toes a little bit. Because if they don't, Prograis could have an option with Adrian Broner. But so let's say that the Taylor fight goes down, he beats Taylor, and the next possible fight is Adrian Broner. The outcome of that fight, I still believe this is it's a competitive fight, but I still don't. I'm not real. I don't really think that. I never really seen Broner at 140 like that, like fighting real top opponents. I mean, who's he got there? Like Emmanuel Taylor, I can think. Ashley Theophane. There was another Russian on the record. Possibly he might have fought Granados at a catch weight between super welter and welter. I mean, junior welter and welter. So Broner's not really proven at 140 either. In the dig, I think he's best at really at the real lower weights. You know what I mean? At lightweight at best. You know what I mean? So the prospects of him beating a guy like Regis Prograis, I mean, at the same time, Regis isn't the total package yet. Let's pump the brakes on that. You know what I mean? We can't give him the keys to 140 until he's, you know what I mean, done the work. But at the same time, I still have to edge him in this fight. You know what I mean? We all know that when Broner fights B+ class opponents, he always comes up short. I heard the argument of people saying that Broner's will get up to this fight, will get up for this fight, you know what I mean, because it's against another brother, you know what I mean, it's a hood fight, this and that. Man, Broner, Broner's the same, going to be the same dude. You know what I mean? He ain't getting up for this fight. He's going to get up for the press conferences and whatnot. When it comes down in the ring, he's going to be competitive, but he's going to be competitively lose. You know what I mean? And that's that. You know what I mean? So I don't put too much into this talk. You know what I mean? I originally said on Act Reach's channel, salute to Act Reach out there, but I originally said on you know what I mean, in the chat, I think AB clout chasing, you know what I mean? And all we know, Regis Prograde might be using this as a tactic to get the WBSS his bag that he wants, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I think about that.
Okay. Reggie, are you ready now? You ready to come back?
Yes.
Okay.
Man, I'm kind of in agreements with Afel on this one, man. I don't think Adrian Broner's going to show up and do a damn thing in this fight. He's going to come in here for a paycheck, go back into his depressive state. This dude's dealing with way too many mental things to be, you know, at a optimal level to compete against another kind of a top tier fighter within the division, a fighter who's real serious. Regis a real aggressive dude who's going to come in here and probably be the first cat that we see really stop Adrian Broner in a fight, because Regis ain't in there to play. Adrian Broner's coming in there to not let them hands go and not to do anything. Yeah, he's in there against a black fighter, and we know how some of these wannabe hood certified coonish type clowns are, where they have this deep level of self-hate and they will show up to fight. But the minute Adrian Broner think he's going to step into a fight and try to engage with Regis Prograis, it's going to be worse than what Marcos Maidana did to him. And the lights may go out, and I think that's probably what a lot of fight fans are looking forward to. Regis fight with a chip on his damn shoulder, and his blood is he's bloodthirsty for this fight, and AJ's gonna be the same old remedy with Adrian Broner. Broner needs to get himself evaluated, man. He's gonna go down into one of these stories, because even speaking on this one, this Adrian Broner story goes down another trail, and it's a trail of mental anguish, into where there's some background type stories that's really plaguing this guy and taking over his career. So we're hearing a lot of outcrying from this dude, but this is a situation where this dude was fell based on how he came up, and it's affecting him within a sport in which AB could have been so great at this damn boxing game. This dude had so much promise, a highly skilled fighter, but when you battling internal or neurologic demons, that shit's going to always defeat you when it comes to this game. Because like people say, it ain't just a physical game, this is a mental game, and psychologically that dude is broken, and Prograis' fist is going to put some real damage to this kid, but he will earn a nice paycheck as a result of that beatdown. But yeah, that's all I have on this one, but I got Prograis smashing him.
Well, that's interesting. First of all, this is all mere speculation, if they are going to fight or not. But one of the things that I found when the talk started stirring up about these two guys and the possibility of them mixing it up, styles make fights. And you can say what you want about him, but AB can fight. Just like Mike Tyson could fight. He was a hell of a basket case, but he could fight. And sometimes guys who can fight can surprise you. Now, I'm not saying that Prograis is in any type of danger or anything. They're all in danger when they get inside that ring because they risk their lives. But the thing that I am implying is you cannot sell one person out over another when they both, let's just say, Prograis has not necessarily been tested in a certain type of manner. I mean, he's had a lot of opponents that have cooperated with him, and he's been able to impose himself a great deal against certain opponents, which is why his fight against Taylor is supposed to be such a good fight, because Taylor is supposed to be able to ask certain questions that we need to see answered by him. Definitely, I feel he should be favored over Taylor. I don't think much of Taylor myself, but he has shown some ability. That being said, Adrian Broner can fight. And the one thing you have to always leave one window of resolute for him is that one day he may come in there and decide to do something. And it's like, you don't bet the house on him at all. Never. I ain't trying to say that. But always leave some kind of window open for him to surprise you. Leopards don't change their spots. But at the same time, it's still an animal. It's still something that, you just don't know. And we will find out. I do believe that AB is also the kind of fighter, if he's backed into a situation where he has to fight his way out of, he will do that. He showed that against Maidana. Maidana put him on his behind and shown him some things in that fight that he wasn't accustomed to. But he got up and he fought back. He lost the fight, but you know what? It was like, hey, and he's been in there with some tough guys. And until he retires, he'll be in there with more tough guys. But you do have to take your hat off to him that he will fight people. He will sign and he will get in there. There are so many guys who may be even far talented, more talented than AB, who refuse to get in there with someone. There are guys out there right now in that division that's hoovering around that will avoid Prograis and won't get in the ring with him, even though they may be even favored to beat him. It's like they won't get in the ring with him. And when you see that in the sport, it really calls the question that where we are in the sport and how things were at one time, when you had less titles, when you had less, champions out there. Contenders had to face off. And the one thing that I like about seeing the possibility of a fight like this is these are two good fighters. It's like, that's what you want to see. There was a time when social media didn't allow us, because it didn't exist. We didn't know Mike Tyson was going to cocaine binge parties. We didn't know that, Evander Holyfield was out there with all these ladies and stuff, making children and stuff. We didn't know these things. It was like, news came late. By the time you found out something, it was old news. It was history. But now things, as we said earlier, as we opened this show, they happen so quickly that you get wind of things and you know more about the fighters' personal lives than we ever knew before. And that makes you have a certain feeling about the fighter. Even it has nothing to do with them fighting, but now that you know that, it's like you feel you know them a little bit better and everything. But one thing about a real fighter is inside that ring, he can take care of himself. Remember, Mike Tyson was having his outside the ring problems far longer than he was champion and was still whooping people's behinds. And we didn't know, until later. But there are fighters like that who can get down and who can focus, and sometimes that's where they feel at home, in that ring, because that's what they know best. And when you have fighters who have that aptitude and they have that type of inner fortitude, that's immeasurable. So, it's like I was talking to someone recently, and we were talking about a situation that we had witnessed there. This guy, he was a gay guy, and he was very effeminate, and he walked a certain kind of way and carried himself in a certain demeanor that was very effeminate. And some guy disrespected him and said some things to him. And the effeminate guy was like, hey, I ain't going to be too many more of them names you calling me, or, it's going to have to go down. And the guy who was doing the insulting kept at it. And he pressed to the point where they got into a fight. That effeminate guy wore him out. Pillar to post. I mean, you would have thought you was watching a amateur boxer or something, the way he was putting the smoke and heat on this guy. And the funny thing about it was that, if you think of it and you're looking at it from the outside, that guy was talking based on what he was looking at. But he never thought for one instant that was another man he was talking to. Regardless if the man is effeminate or not, it was a man. And he whooped him like a man. So, again, you just never know what's inside somebody. You can say all of this, yeah, that dude is crazy. But sometimes them crazy guys will wear your butt out too. Huh? Especially if the right switch has been flicked. I know, I've seen it. So, that's what I have to say about that. That's what I have to say about that.
I still think Prograis is gonna beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, I still lead to more that Broner's gonna be competitive in this fight, but he'll still lose. I mean, when we seen Broner against other competition, that's at or above him, he never really he always tries to bring it, but he always falls short. Talks a good game, but always falls short in the dig. There's times where we can say that he's left his hands in his pockets and he hasn't thrown enough punches, but he's still competitive in those fights, at points. I really can't see Regis Prograis, as much as I like his upside and how he's looking, I really can't see him blowing out Broner. But that's early. It's early right now. If and when this Josh Taylor fight goes down, and if he looks very impressive in that fight, my mind could change on that. But as of now, if this fight was to happen next, I will lead Broner to be competitive in this fight, but still lose.
Wait, isn't the Taylor fight canceled? Didn't they pull out of that one?
I don't know if that's official yet, really. There's different boxing publications reporting on it, but I don't know. It's just like I compared that last round. There was many reports of Ivan Baranchyk pulling out of the fight against Josh Taylor, and it ended up happening. So. So yeah, I don't know for sure if it's canceled. But Stormy B, what else you got on the docket? Because I got a topic. I think we could cook on.
Please drop it in, because we still have plenty of time to work through. That's why, I'm asking that you guys also offer up. My bullet points are just basically to help keep things rolling around. But if you've got something, please pop it on in there and let's cook on it.
I kind of want to touch on this. It's kind of been a hot topic in the hardcore, chats and panels and whatnot, with this whole fight between Anthony Yarde and Sergey Kovalev. the most hated Sergey Kovalev, but I'm under the suspicion, to be real, you know what I mean? This is one of the better fights on the horizon. We are in the month of August, and this fight is supposed to go down, I believe, August 24th in Russia. You know, dig? But yeah, the prospects of this fight, it's really looking good. It's one of the fights that really excite me because I like Anthony Yarde. He really looks like he has some upside and something there. Although, albeit he's facing C-class opponents, you know what I mean? So what can he do against a B-class opponent? What can he even do against one of his domestic rivals? We just don't know. But the fact remains is that what's suspicious to me is that there hasn't been no press conference. I wanted to get tickets, you know what I mean? I was just fronting like, yeah, well, what if I wanted to fly to Russia, you know what I mean, and get some tickets, you know what I mean? What if I was a UK fan, you know what I mean, out there? And I know there's a lot of, the UK fans, they like to travel with their fighters, you know what I mean? Especially being Europe's pretty much a small place where you can go country to country in the European Union, blah, blah, blah. So, I was trying to be, you know what I mean, act like I was one of those people, you know what I mean? So let me look into getting tickets. So I go to Frank Warren's site, Queensberry Promotions and whatnot, you know what I mean? I see a whole bunch of other promotions, you know what I mean, ready to go, you know what I mean? With the whole event button, and then as well as a button where you can press to get tickets. Scroll on up to the Anthony Yarde Kovalev promo. You see you see a button where you can view more details. Where's the ticket button? Nowhere to be seen. We're 2 weeks away from the fight, and you can't buy a ticket? Something's going on here. Something definitely is going on. You know what I mean? Team Yards, you know what I mean? They're acting, you know what I mean? Like they're playing all cool about it. You know what I mean? We see the promo that's continually coming out from BT Sports, and they're doing a good job. You know what I mean? Really promoting their guy, Anthony Yarde. But is this fight really going on? You know what I mean? They haven't even seen each other yet. There hasn't been no presser, no nothing. So it's like, what's really good? What do y'all think about that?
I wasn't aware of all of that you just said, that they haven't had pressers and that tickets aren't available. You know, I'm not really into Kovalev and don't give a damn about the guy. Hope he ends up in jail soon. As far as Anthony Yarde, I've seen some clips of him on the internet. I have to admit that I've never watched one of his fights in its entirety. I hear his name, but there has been absolutely nothing to attract me to what he's doing. All I know is he's a young prospect, and they think that he's hot shit. You know, sometimes you could be hot, and then sometimes you can just be shit. And I guess going over there to Russia, if the fight does come off, you're going to find out one way or another exactly what he is. But it's a bad situation for a young prospect to go across the pond to a place like that, trying to win from a person like that, where the deck is going to be stacked tremendously against him, and he doesn't have enough name or experience, I feel, to really contend with some of the heat that's going to be brought his way. I've spoken with some fighters that have fought over there, and they've told me, they said, man, it's not like here, it's not like any place else I've been. He's like, it's really when they talked about the Cold War, that's a cold place when you're not from there, you know. And to talk about going over there to defeat one of their athletes and take their championship and bring it back somewhere else, that's a tall order to fill. What do you got to say, Reggie?
It's like you said, it's a tough order for this young cat to fulfill, and I think he has to prove himself. He definitely has to prove himself. He's speaking it. He believes it. Now he has to get in that ring and prove it. And one thing he has to prove is, how does he figure out, how well does he make adjustments? Because Kovalev is jab aficionado, man. He's real superior with that jab, the way he works it. And that's a thudding type jab that makes a fighter really second guess what they're going to do. And that's what you have to find from Anthony Yarde. I think Kovalev will be able to find Anthony Yarde's face with that jab. And we just have to see how well Anthony Yarde can take a punch, because he hasn't, like people say, he hasn't faced even B-level competition. He's kind of been floating his way through real soft touch opposition over there, which is no doing of himself, because at this division, I think there's just a huge, kind of a dump off when it comes to the tiers of 175. It's just kind of a C level, and then you bounce right up to the A level of this weight classes tiers. So he's stepping right into the fray where he has to get into this dangerous situation. He wanted it. He has to take it over in Russia, but this dude has to get serious along with his team. They seem to be a little bit too cocky, but maybe that's something that plays at them to keep him mentally fresh. I think that may be the reason why they're so confident and, kind of coming off as overfilled with joy, guaranteeing a victory. But I think once he gets in that ring, he'll see how serious things get. He'll lock in, go into kind of a warrior mode, because he's going to really have to soldier up, especially being in hostile territory, in the Iron Curtain, really where he's at. And he's going to have to show it, because Kovalev's going to go in there and try to crush this dude. Ain't no doubt about it. And just based on age, man, it is always hard to fight older, experienced fighters, especially when they have a little bit left in the tank. So we're going to have to see. I'm going for this dude, Anthony Yarde, but I just don't know. But it's going to be a great test for him, a great learning experience for him. But hopefully he doesn't go down looking like what was the one cat that everybody was hyping up out of Florida, muscle-bound dude that Calzaghe beat on, Jeff Lacey. Hopefully he doesn't go out in a Lacey-type style. But if he can pull this one off, man, he'll really find himself into the spotlight of boxing. I think that's where this kid wants to be. Charismatic dude, real great personality. And it looks like he really wants to carry himself out of that UK market, pushing himself over into America. I think he's influenced by American culture, and he'll love to become a star over here. So this is the test that will break him out. This is where he'll set himself free if he is to come out victorious in his fight. But he has a lot on the line. But it's a real uphill battle for this dude. But he has the skills based on the way I see him fighting, his styles, his attributes. He has the ability to do it. But Kovalev being the vet, I got to go with the vet early on. But I'm Anthony Yarde is I favor Anthony Yarde. I want to see his success, but I'd never overlook a veteran, man. I just don't. But like you said, it's a tough one for this cat.
Yeah, that Jeff Lacey analogy does come to mind. Jeff Lacey, remember, and Jeff Lacey was more highly touted than Anthony Yarde, and when he had to go across the pond and step up against a world-class fighter, that had experience and that was somewhat of a killer in his own right, man, could we be looking at history repeating itself? The only thing is that there's such negativity attached to the Kovalev brand. That man should not be fighting. They should not be allowing him to earn a living. He should be behind bars. Again, I speak firmly and strongly on that, because listen, all you have to do is put yourself in this position. If you're a husband, a father, think of it's your daughter. Think of it if your daughter, what would you do? He probably be laying in a pine box right about now, right? honest assessment. The man is an animal, and you need to treat him as such. Take away his privileges, take away his right to earn, and put him where he belongs, in a cage.
Indeed. Well, I don't know. It seems like he's been being put into a digital cage, and because where's the training footage? We're seeing all this whole promotion's been dominated by Anthony Yard. We haven't seen anything from Kovalev. I don't know if this fight's going down, but in the prospects that it does go down, like you were saying, Stormy B, when we was talking about Broner and Regis, Broner can fight. You know what I mean? Broner knows how to fight. And we can say that with Kovalev as well. You know what I mean? He has 3 losses and a draw to Darnell Boone. But let it be known that Kovalev knows how to fight. You know what I mean? He's fundamentally sound and he knows how to throw those punches. You know what I mean? He might not be the most proficient defensively, but he definitely knows how to box. And that's going to be a real challenge for Anthony Yard, because he's definitely hasn't seen anybody with the proficiency boxing as well as the combination of power that Sergey Kovalev got. You know what I mean? Sergey Kovalev just looked a little bit better over the week when we had my Canadian brethren, Jean Pascal, winning the WBA regular title against Sir Marcus Brown. You know what I mean? Sergey Kovalev dispatched Jean Pascal twice. You know what I mean? And the second time was even more brutal. In the dig. So Kovalev can fight. You know what I mean? Andre Ward had to be at his best. You know what I mean? To do what he did against Kovalev. We can't forget Andre Ward in the first fight was on his ass. You know what I mean? And had to dig deep. You know what I mean? To get that victory. So let's not slate Sergey Kovalev, as far as what he is outside the ring. Yeah, he's scum. He's a piece of trash. Who knows where he is? You know what I mean? If he's in the States and even can't leave the States, you know what I mean? That could be a possibility too. You know what I mean? Because we know this fight's going to be in Russia, supposedly in his hometown. But, yeah, remains to be seen. Once again, I don't think this fight's happening.
And you very well may be right. Another interesting aspect about this whole ordeal regarding Sergey Kovalev is main events and Kathy Duva, being a woman herself, and how she's been able to still hide and protect and shun this guy and see that he gets paydays. I don't know what to make of that. That seems to be an absolute travesty in the sport where there's no ethics, and I do know that boxing has always operated below ethics sometimes, most times, but being a woman herself, and she can't find within herself a common place of looking to protect someone who's been violated, or to protect someone who is been made to feel unsteady and uncomfortable. To me, that says a lot about Kathy Duva, and I wouldn't want to even sit at a table with her. Get the fuck out of here.
Stormy B, Kathy Duva is a businesswoman first. Not a woman first, business woman first. You know what I mean? She's all about the bag. Kovalev is pretty much her last meal check. Who else, you know what I mean, she really got under that roster, you know what I mean, where she can eat. She don't got belts. That's pretty much her last meal ticket. And that's why she don't have no ethics or no morals with regards to the situations that Kovalev always finds himself in. You know what I mean? Absolutely despicable. But once again, she's a businesswoman first and a woman second or third or fourth. Who knows?
Yeah. I once saw Roy Jones give her a kiss. I was like, what the hell? I'm like, oh, whatever. Reggie, did you have anything that you wanted to bring into the arena before we move forward with some of the other bullet points?
No, I want to get in the bullet points as long as we got that AJ. Some of the snippets
Yeah,
from his interview.
I figure you'd be chomping at the bit to get at AJ. So why don't we just go ahead and let it fly? So with this next topic, it's funny, you know, when I put these together, it's like I gave them like little bylines and everything. So with the one for Mr. Anthony Joshua, his clearly states, and it goes along with the photo, that if you can see that photo of him, it says, looking for help, the next chapter in the Anthony Joshua story. And it's got him looking up at the referee for help. So go ahead, Reggie. I'll let you go ahead and start kicking that off, brother.
Man, it's just, man, I've never seen so weak, man, or dude this big so mentally weak. And when it comes to making disgusting excuses like the one he made, I don't know, he did this video, but it was such an injustice to this dude, because before coming to this point, this guy's made every single excuse of doing that one sit down video and creating no excuses, as if nothing went wrong, as if everything was clear in his head. He just lost the fight. He accepted defeat and really spoke like a kind of like a true champion or a true warrior that was looking forward to bouncing back. But now as time goes down, here he is backtracking and adding a twist and kind of coming out. This is the true side of him revealing the psychological effects and pressure he was feeling, being he was getting pushed closer and closer to this eventual fight with Deontay Wilder. And now he comes in speaking about how his mind is on not set on Andy Ruiz, is set on Deontay Wilder. If you're a champion, why are you being distracted like that? And in the state that he's looking to get his get back, what has changed? The threat of Deontay Wilder still remains. And then also going into what we got, the situation of them wanting to take this fight overseas to a country that is not known for any type of combat sports. The Saudi Arabia tried it with the UFC. Well, not even Saudi Arabia, Dubai tried it with the UFC. It was a trashy event. The only thing that came out of it was those guys paid well and the fighters made off well. But other than that, for it to be entertaining, it was not as such. And even that event really didn't do anything for viewership for the UFC. And that's the one thing that's going to lead to viewership with this fight. Right now over in Dubai, it is currently 5 a.m. This would be about the time in which we're looking to make go about viewing fights, main event, star-studded type fights. What time would they be putting on the fight for? And by the time the fight ends over in Saudi Arabia, we'll be getting the news as we get it right now, because the internet makes the world flat and we get news at the drop of at the push of a button. So what's going to attract people to want to watch this fight, especially being at the time in which it will take place? We'll probably be, even on the East Coast, we'll be sleeping by the time this fight is probably, set to take place. Being, I don't even know what time it will start for us, because right now, like I stated, it's 5 a.m. over in Saudi Arabia. So that just makes no sense. And for them to want to pull this fight, it just shows that Eddie Hearn is trying to go about having, taking every advantage he can into having influence on this fight to where they can have influence on these judges, influence on the ref, influence on the event, influence with whoever's to commission the fights. And what the hell and that's the other thing. Saudi Arabia doesn't have a commission. So who's going to be the commission that's in control of sanctioning this fight over in that country? There's all type of corrupt stuff. And we all hear about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is a very corrupt region. And this is just the sick stuff. So I can understand them wanting to take this fight over into another country, talking this neutral land, if Anthony Joshua was cheated. Anthony Joshua was not cheated one bit. Andy Ruiz was cheated in that fight. Lucky he got the knockout, because we've seen what those scorecards look like. These guys came to America still pulling off some of the Eddie Hearn under the table tactics based on them scorecards, just the ridiculousness of it. And like I was saying, Andy Ruiz would be a goddamn fool to take that fight up over there. And even looking at that $9 million guarantee thing, that needs to be reworked. He'll be a damn fool to accept this fight. He need to bypass these fools if they're pulling all this old trickery bullshit. The whole intentions for Anthony Joshua's career was not to take him to Saudi Arabia. It was to bring him to America and make him into a star. Now they trying to backtrack all that shit. And that was the same thing for the zone reasoning for bringing that dude over here, was to break into this American market. Now they're trying to do a fight over in Saudi Arabia, which Americans aren't going to get to view the damn fight because it's going to be happening when the whole country's asleep. So this is just the silliness behind Eddie Hearn and others like Eddie Hearn who come into the sport just attracted to money without any thought of how to present a product to boxing fans and for the longevity of the sport. Because now this fool is finding his way up out the game. He's trying to get this quick, this securing of this quick financial robbery. But yeah, that's what I have so far, and I'll piggyback off of whatever you guys come out with.
Well, as far as me, I'll let our fella go next. What do you got on that, our fella, about AJ? Anything and everything regarding him at the moment?
Firstly, once again, I feel it's suspicious. And suspicious is a recurring word I'm using tonight. I mean, for guys, a lot of these boxing stories. But yeah, I feel it's suspicious that this fight landed in, for one, yes, Saudi Arabia, but two, in December. You know what I mean? What's the reasoning behind that? You know what I mean? Once again, a lot of us expected this fight to be a little bit closer, maybe in October, November at the latest. But yeah, this is early December. It's going down. You know, dig in Saudi Arabia. It's more closer to the UK time zone, maybe 1 or 2 hours ahead. Maybe he was thinking that in a sense to keep it real for his UK people. You know what I mean? So maybe that was the logic behind that. I don't know for sure, but I do know that I agree with what Reggie was saying with regards to the corruption that goes down in Saudi Arabia and whatnot. And it's easy to think that vanilla envelopes can be passed to this, you know what I mean, pretty much novice or unheralded boxing board commission, if they even have one in Saudi Arabia. They obviously do. But are they really reputable? You know what I mean? We don't know. What type of drug testing is going to be in place? You know what I mean? Does the Saudi commission have anything like that? You know what I mean? I highly doubt it. You know what I mean? I highly feel that there's going to be some shadiness going on with AJ with regards to maybe some PEDs or some type of enhancers or whatnot. We know there's been tons of allegations before. I just find it highly suspicious why this fight there has to be a more of a reason other than $85 million why this fight's happening in Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? And I think one of the big reasons has to deal with the commission. You know what I mean? The boxing commission in Saudi Arabia is probably a hell of a lot more lenient. The eyes aren't on the UK. The whole world is looking at the British Boxing Board of Control and their suspect movements with regards to Dillian White. You know, dig? So right now, Eddie Hearn needs to go somewhere where it's not as hot right now, literally. You know what I mean? And that's, I guess, Saudi Arabia. But to me, something still smells kind of fishy. You know what I mean? AJ, I seen pictures of him released. Blue Blood did a video. Shout out to Blue Blood Sports TV. But yeah, he's looking a little bit thinner. He's looking like he's dropping the weight. Right now, it looks like he's looking like he's working on his body, looking to trim and be, you know what I mean, at least get down to the higher 230s, lower 240s for this rematch. And maybe that's the reason why they're putting it off all the way to December. You know what I mean? Because he's taking off the weight now and possibly working on his craft. You know what I mean? And against a guy like Ruiz for the rest of the way. You know what I mean? Because he's gonna have to definitely work on his craft, his head movement, and his footwork. You know what I mean? To be able to do something. I don't know. Has it been confirmed that George Foreman is the new addition to his training camp? You know what I mean? So if that is true, it remains to be seen whether George Foreman will be a positive. He definitely will be a great motivator. You know what I mean? A great voice in the corner, in the gym for Anthony Joshua. But I don't know what kind of asset, what kind of things he can really teach Anthony Joshua as far as, you know what I mean, footwork and head movement. But yeah, we'll see if that matchup is true and what the results of that is. But yeah, that's my take on that. He's looking thinner. He actually did add somebody to his training camp, it seems, allegedly. So we'll see how it goes. But I still smell fish with this whole Saudi Arabia thing.
This man, Anthony Joshua, if that's even his real name, has seemingly been a nightmare of spinning plates. This guy, you know, from day to day, he changes what he has to say, what he says he's thinking, what he doesn't say he's thinking. I don't know where to begin with this, but my comments might be all over the place, or they may be succinct. I don't know. Anthony Joshua has admittedly let you know that he's not confident. He's not a person who is stable and secure within himself. He acts like it, and I really think that now he's in a position that he's being forced to do things that he didn't necessarily understand when things were going well, how much control he did not have. The pursuit of these titles that they have enjoyed in the UK for the past few years that he's held on to them, the pursuit is relentless, and you've seen it at its worst, to the degree that they would force feed the public someone as lackluster as Dillian White, to put him in a position to get up there, to be in position for a title shot, and to be able to possibly angle around toward one of those belts that Joshua has lost to Ruiz. The fact that the PBC has the championships now, with the WBC being with Deontay Wilder and the other belts being with Andy Ruiz Jr., who's also signed up with the PBC. There is movement within the sanctioning bodies, within the other promotional groups out there, to ensure that these belts do not remain where they are. The fact that this fight will be taken to a place that never have they really held a real championship fight of this magnitude over there, and especially under this particular climate where there's so much happening in the world, and politically it is just not the place that you would want to have a promotion of this magnitude. I can see that these people are operating to no end to try to lessen the grip that Al Heyman and his group have over boxing right now. They're putting on the best fights. They have the best fighters. There is so much happening in a positive sense with what Al Heyman is doing, and he's not even really managing these guys. He's advising and everything, so it's not even like he's Don King or something like that, which is a whole nother story and a whole nother personality. He's a businessman, and he has been quite successful at what he does, and when people stay in the vein of what he advises, they usually receive positive results. I do understand that there may have been contractual clauses that limit what Andy Ruiz Jr.'s options could be, which speaks all the more reason to why he needs to go out and, if the fight does take place, successfully defend his championship by turning back the challenge of this person who doesn't want to be in this position. It's like you can clearly see what's going on here. I find it rather laughable that the promotional group, Matchroom, and the Hearns family feel that the boxing public is so gullible. You can actually say that he has his own following over there, which is like the Eddie Hearn and Matchroom fan people that support and say things. But I also believe that a great portion of that is a publicity spin that he pays for to put things out a certain kind of way to maintain. It's exposed tremendously when he's on this side of the world dealing in the U.S. And you could see that the other promotional groups, even the laughable Bob Arum, doesn't really take too kindly to the man. But Joshua is in a position to do something very dangerous because if he's as mentally deficient as I perceive him to be, things cannot turn out well for him. That he's in too deep. First and foremost, in a fight where they handpicked an opponent, he got obliterated. And the obliteration that he was running from still exists. It's there, and he never faced it. So imagine your worst nightmare never coming to pass, but when you were avoiding the worst nightmare, you ran into another nightmare. And so now you got two nightmares. And it's like, what's behind door number 3? You see, the thing that's behind door number 3 is the puppet master, the guy who's managing his career and promoting him and telling him not to take $50 million guarantees that could have set him up and his family for the rest of their lives and everything. It's funny how even after he turned that money down, that he did some kind of show and interview where he showed this apartment where he lived and the furniture was all crappy and stuff. It's like, okay, bro, you're a millionaire. If you had taken that $50 million guarantee, even if this is not your home and you want people to feel a certain kind of way for you, you want to display and put on a certain type of air, you still could have had some type of guarantee to assure your future. Now your future is as cloudy as can be because, first of all, you don't even have the titles anymore. So who cares about you? People didn't even know your name when you came over here. And you couldn't even, you were in such bad shape, you couldn't even go back home right away. I don't know if I've ever seen someone mismanaged and handled so poorly.
Facts.
The one other person that I could think about may have been the young brother who came out of the Olympics, David Reed. He was someone who was very talented, a highly touted prospect, and they just threw him to the wolves like nothing.
Put him in there with Trinidad.
It was ridiculous. And yes, he had an eye problem and everything, but with good coaching and everything, he could have picked up some defensive techniques and everything to keep himself safe. He's not the first person who had limitation in eye. Joe Frazier fought for a number of years with one eye. He was blind in one eye. A lot of people don't know that. He was legally blind in one eye and fought some of the best fights in history. But he had very good people in his corner too. Yank Durham and Eddie Futch, these guys took good care of Joe Frazier. So I don't know what the hell to say about Anthony Joshua. And now, enlisting the services of a George Foreman? Really? George, who was a monster of a bully until Ali humbled him, and instead of trying to come back and be a real world-beating champion and everything, he decided to duck and tail and run for 10 years and become a minister. Then he came back for a second career, and because the quality of opposition slipped, he was able to get in there and get a belt again. But who has George taught in the ring? What prospects has he had? What experience can he pass on to AJ? How to quit? How to walk away? A lot of people don't understand. George went into a huge stupor and everything after Ali defeated him. He doesn't have the greatest character himself. And I am not an advocate of him trying to help someone who is so broken at this time. George Foreman is like a dirty car salesman. He's still running from Larry Holmes. Still running from Larry Holmes. And those men are 50, 60, 70 years old now. When he came back and Larry was there, Larry said, I want George. George Foreman never said Larry Holmes' name. Never came out of his mouth. George Foreman never mentioned him. There's something to be said about that. Because you're talking about the integrity and the courage that doesn't exist in a man who's been bluffing people, bluffing the masses a long time. Yeah, he can smile and sell you a grill, but I'm going to tell you something. George Foreman ain't what you think he is. He's not. And Larry Holmes can tell you about George Foreman. All that smiling and, oh, I'm eating cheeseburgers and everything, that was all for the cameras. George Foreman is not a nice man. And I think there's very little that he could teach Anthony Joshua. I don't like that move at all. Joshua needs help, but he needs help from people who have been there, who have been battle tested, who have been through the trenches, working the corner of fighters. And there are a number of men out there who could help him if that's the thing he wanted to do, to try to keep fighting. But George Foreman is not going to help him. As far as this fight taking place over in Saudi, that seems to smack dead of something bad to happen, and controversy, and some type of nefarious dealings behind the scenes or whatever. It's like it's a climate for disaster. And I just hope that Ruiz and his people have him safe and protected. I don't know what Eddie Hearn is trying to do, but it's not good. And as I had heard it said on an earlier stream, he's only looking out for himself and to make his money, and he's going to make the lion's share of the money and probably just kick a percentage to these guys. But someone like Eddie Hearn, again, he needs to be dealt with as well for what he's trying to do to these fighters. And you only have the fighters to blame. But my goodness, if there's no one of any type of experience, life experience, to help teach them, where are those UK guys who have fought and had careers? Funny how silent they are now. Huh? The Nigel Benns and the Chris Eubanks and the Warringtons and all of those guys. Where are they at now? Where are they? You got stupid people like Spencer Fearon and Johnny Nelson up there talking, and David Hay, which these guys, you could see that they were like cannon fodder the whole time that they were there doing what they were doing in their careers. They were not world-class fighters, but these guys were built up, and they were pitching something to the public and made to look more dynamic than they really were, which is why they didn't come over here, Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank. Why didn't you come over here and fight James Toney? Huh? He punked y'all on TV. You guys sat up there and quiet as a mouse in church. You just couldn't say anything back to the man. And he told you he'd beat both of you on the same night, in the same ring. Cowards. But y'all sitting back with all your life experience and ring experience and everything, and you watching this young man get stripped of all dignity. He don't even know how to talk to the press, talk to the media. One moment he's saying one thing, the next he's saying something else. This guy doesn't know where he is. And it's not laughable, because he has family too. He has a life away from the ring too. And it's not cool to be able to just look at somebody and just strip them of everything, and you know that there are people that could assist or abate, and they don't. They just sit back and watch it happen. They knew he wasn't ready for the level that they were pushing him for. All of those people over there, they knew he wasn't ready, but they kept on anyway. They kept on. And they were singing those songs, Sweet Caroline, and playing music and all of that, and skylight shows and everything. But all of that was smoke and mirrors. It came tumbling down over there in New York City in Madison Square Garden. And where were they at? They weren't there to pick him up. They weren't there to say, hey, let's go back to the drawing board and let's get it together. None of them even came over here when he couldn't go home right away. That says a lot. So as I look at what's happening with him, and I put that little piece up there on the screen that says, looking for help, the next chapter in the Anthony Joshua story. When you turn to page 1 and you see George Foreman's name, you might as well close the damn book. Because he's already been knocked out. He's trying to resurrect. And that's the wrong man to try to be a doctor for him at this time in his career. That's all I have to say about that.
Indeed. You know what I mean? That's a dope breakdown. You know what I mean? We got some people in the chat, though. You know what I mean? Salute to Sheldon Holmes up in there. Dark Troop up in here. You know what I mean? Lawrence Williams. You know what I mean? Salute. And of course, King Louis 2 Boxing. You know what I mean? What's good, family? Up in the chat. You know what I mean? Salute everybody. You know what I mean? Welcome to the, you know what I mean, chop session with Stormybman, Reggie, Owens, and of course, your favorite, your most hated art fella.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, British boxing media, salute. But you had a statement here, you know what I mean, that was kind of like irking me earlier, you know what I mean, talking about, I don't know if you're still here, but you said Ruiz should vacate all his belts on fight day. Explain yourself. Why would he do that? You know what I mean? What's your logic? What's the logic behind doing that? You know what I mean? We all want to see Ruiz definitely has the potential to defeat, you know what I mean, AJ in a rematch once again. You know what I mean? Which sets it up for undisputed showdown with Wilder. So why should Ruiz, you know what I mean, effectively drop and vacate all his belts on fight day? You know what I mean? I don't get that.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird remark to make, man. What's up with that?
PK Boxing and MMA, salute.
Yeah, what's good, PK? I'm looking over my notes here. Fella, have you heard an update on the J-Rock situation? Because, you know, he was saying that Hurd has 3 weeks, I think, to sign up for the VADA testing and everything for their scheduled rematch in December 14th. And if he doesn't do so within a certain amount of time, J-Rock's going to go a different direction. Have you heard anything about that? Any updates?
That's as far as I've heard, you know what I mean? And kudos to J-Rock for pushing that movement. You in the dig, you know what I mean? He's in the driver's seat, you know what I mean? So Hurd got to, you know what I mean, he's a contender now, and damn well, you know what I mean, as far as the sport go, he should be able to abide by that anyways, you know what I mean? I don't know what's taking him so long. The motherfucker should have been enrolled in the first place, you know what I mean? On the clean boxing program and whatnot. So yeah, it's ridiculous. But kudos once again to J-Rock for, you know what I mean, once again outing, exposing the fact that the J-Rock, Jared Hurd hasn't signed up for VADA yet, you know what I mean? And it's an important thing, especially a guy like, you look at Jared Hurd's style, you know what I mean, with the amount of his ability to drop weight, you know what I mean, with abundance, as well as still be able to keep his stamina. That's a big part of his fight game. He wasn't able to do it so well in the fight with J-Rock, but we have to credit that as well to the style. You know, styles make fight. And J-Rock definitely had the skills and the styles, you know what I mean, to deter Jared Hurd. So, yeah, once again, just to reiterate, yeah, kudos to J-Rock.
Yeah, I got much respect for him for that. Matter of fact, I tell you, man, even off of his performance against Jared Hurd, going into Hurd's hometown, you know, and beating him the way he beat him and everything, and then the respect that he showed in the aftermath after winning the title, and knowing that he had to train during, I think he had to train during the Muslim holiday and everything. So it was like he put a lot on the line, and he still showed the flavor and dignity of a real true champion. And the man is to be commended for how he's handled himself and how he has represented. I mean, we have not seen enough of that in the sport. But I love the fact that he was able to lead and show by that example. It was a wonderful thing to see. And I hope that he's able to continue on. If this fight doesn't come about because of Hurd's camp not looking to do the things that they need to do to make it happen, then let him go ahead on and start his reign and be who he needs to be, because a person like that is walking in the light, and I love to see that, and I support that. And we need more of that type of example in the sport. Deontay Wilder is one, and J-Rock is another. That's a wonderful thing to see. And that's the type of person, when you want to talk about the sport and you want representing the sport and everything, that's what you would like to see. See it all being done the right way. So I am going to now bring us to this last focal point here, the bullet point that I had, which was shout out to Dante's Boxing Nation. I think it was where I originally ran across this interview and story with Steve Willis, the referee. I don't know if anyone out there that's listening had a chance to catch that interview that Steve Willis dropped, or even if they had a chance to understand that, the subject that he was speaking on really drives home, especially in light of what has happened recently with doping and cheating in the sport, and we've had recent ring deaths in the sport. And this man, who is a very experienced referee, he's noted for being the guy who's always in there refereeing fights, and he has these physical reactions to what's the action that's taking place in the ring. And sometimes with his animated face expressions and things like that, when guys get tagged or knocked down or knocked out or just good exchanges, he lets it be known that he's watching like a fan, but he's in there working as a ref. So Steve Willis is a prominent figure in the sport. Odd fella, did you get a chance to see his interview that he did?
No, I have not. I haven't got a chance to see his interview, unfortunately. But yeah, I know what you mean. What you're talking about with he's that definitely that referee that is in there with the facial expressions. You know what I mean? When certain combinations and punches are landed, and that's you know what I mean. It's definitely a sight to see. You know what I mean? When the camera catches him, you know what I mean. Looking in on the whole occasion at that. So, but yeah, unfortunately, I can't speak too much further on that because I haven't seen the interview. But yeah, I'll close on that.
Well, in a nutshell, he spoke on a lot of what's happening lately in boxing, and he was, first of all, he was speaking on the fact that referees are being called into question about like standing 8 counts, and when they stop a fight to check on the health and well-being of a fighter, and how pundits that are out here, people like us in the community who may have made disparaging remarks against the efforts of certain referees. I don't think Steve should take it personal for himself, but I understand that he is in a brotherhood of people who do this job and who actually do have fighters' lives in their hands at certain moments. He spoke about referees being in certain instances being too active in fights where they give standing 8 counts and things like that, and in other circumstances they don't. And you know, what's funny is that as he indicated, a lot of it comes down to what the ruling is in a particular match. It's like if you're in a different city, they may have different policies. Like in New York, I think now they have the ref can stop a fight before the next round or whatever and check a guy's condition and make sure before he goes back into action if he was like shaken up before the end of the previous round or something like that, or if he got clocked good or went down or something like that. Similar to like the Deontay Wilder situation, where in, I forget which round it was, but when the previous round that Luis Ortiz had tagged him pretty good and had Deontay like wobbling around and holding on and things like that, and the bell rang and he went back to his corner, and when the bell rang for the following round, the ref checked Deontay Wilder's condition for a few seconds before letting the fight resume. And some people were like, oh, he gave him rest and this and that. But again, that was the commission's ruling in that state, that that's how they fought under those type of rules. And see, some people, when they watch matches and they don't know what the rules are for a particular state or region, that's why you have a difference in circumstances like that. And Steve Willis was speaking about that. And he said that a lot of times that, you know, people like us that have these channels and podcasts and things like that, we speak irresponsibly when it comes down to the technical aspects of those things. And in some ways he's right. But like I said, it doesn't apply to all the referees. It does apply to certain referees when you could see them, like Mr. Reese, who was waking you could see him sprinkling coke dust over Tyson Fury when he was asleep on the canvas with his eyes wide open and yelling the count into his face, like to wake him up. You know, he did everything, like I said, except for give him a massage under his trousers. So I don't know why someone like that in one instance can behave in that manner, and in another instance he just calls a fight real quick and short. You know, he's been known to do those kind of things, but not Steve Willis. Steve Willis has been very consistent as far as I've seen, as far as how he referees. Another issue that he brought up was that in certain instances, referees don't know a fighter's history. Like if a guy has been knocked out in the gym, you know, before coming into a fight, if he has suffered a certain type of injury, it hasn't been disclosed to the referee, so the referee can't make sound decisions on things like that. Not that he's asking that they disclose things, but it's like he's stating the obvious, that they don't have certain information. Like if it were true that Anthony Joshua, sparring just a couple of weeks before his fight with Ruiz, got knocked out and suffered a concussion, he really should not have been fighting. But again, for a referee to not have that information, and he wouldn't know what to look for if he just saw the guy get dazed in a fight, he thought it just happened momentarily right there on the spot. It's not a thing where he knew that, oh, I have this information to watch this guy to make certain that he's good to go. You know, it's that kind of thing. So his interview was very good. You should take a moment out when you get a chance to just check it out, because he did bring up some valid concerns. And he also expressed it from a standpoint of someone who does the job and understands the scrutiny that he could be under when he's performing in the ring. So it's very touch and go. It's a thin line to walk, you know, tight rope walk, because referees sometimes are blamed for stopping fights too soon or not soon enough and things like that. But you would also think that the cornermen should really be involved more as well, knowing that their fighter had taken a certain amount of injuries in the gym and then got in there to get his payday, but you didn't look out for his personal welfare. Now he's in a coma in the hospital. but you knew what was happening with him. The referee didn't know, but you knew. You see, guys like Lou Del Valle that let people just go in there and get beat half to death. You understand? Cut, bleeding like a dam. You know, it's like, what is up with that, man? When are people gonna pull the trigger and say, hey, my fighter can live to fight another day? You know, these men have families. They have lives outside of the ring. And that's what he's trying to stress and what he's talking about. So kudos to Steve Willis for dropping that information and taking the time out. A lot of people don't know that Steve Willis is a comedian also, so he wouldn't seem to be taking anything with jokes or anything as he was dropping this information. But I just thought I would put that out there that he is a comedian. So that's all I wanted to say about him, because it's good to hear that a man of integrity wants to speak out. He wasn't speaking from a protective standpoint. He was speaking from a factual standpoint. When you have all the information that you can make a proper assessment, you know that you can referee a fight to your full ability. But when you don't have all the variables included, it can be very touchy, And like I said, these guys sometimes have the fighters' lives in their hands. So that's something to think about, So that's what that was about, fella. Did you have anything else that you wanted to say regarding that?
No. Go ahead.
So, yeah, but I think that'll pretty much do it for us this evening. As far as the Friday night chop session, we have been here and have pretty much run our timetable, and it's been a very nice session. We got a chance to talk about some really important things as far as our our subject content that we wanted to bring to the listening audience. And I think that we did it in a pretty fair manner as well. I don't think we were overly critical. I think we were right on point tonight. I don't think it was too harsh. Some people might have felt it was a little harsh, but I don't think it was harsh. And Dillian White, we're still watching you cheating bum, and I hope that you do get that chance with Deontay so he can knock your head off. You ain't gonna get a chance to switch your gloves up with him, but you'll get your gloves switched upside your head when he lays that Alabama slammer on top of you. You know what I'm saying? I'm still going to be talking about you, chump. So, all right, fella, you want to say some final words there, brother? Let people know where they can follow you.
Indeed. Once again, respect for having me on the platform, you know what I mean? Chopping it up on the chop session in the dig. Y'all can find me on YouTube, you know what I mean, the channel, The Fella. Y'all can also listen to me on my radio show, where I highlight, you know what I mean, different hip-hop artists from Canada, from the north side, you know, dig. We got a thriving hip-hop scene up here as well, you know, dig. So check me out Saturday nights, 9 to 10:30 Eastern time. That's the live and direct show. You can stream me live on cfmu.ca. That's cfmu.ca. Stream me live. And I also got like 3 months worth of podcasts that we upload to our personal web page on the station website. So, yeah, you can check me there once again every night, 9 to 10:30. Get your favorite, get your most hated fella. Salute to the LDBC. Salute to Reggie Owens. And salute to you, Stormybman. And I'm Gizone.
All right. And we appreciate you contributing to the show. Fella, you always bring good stuff, man, and you're welcome here anytime. This is Stormy B, man. I'm here Friday nights, 8 Central for the chop session. Sometimes I'm running it alone. Sometimes I have the brothers on here with me. And I want to thank the brothers tonight. We had the Odd Fella and Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, two brothers who always bring very good content and idealisms when it comes to talking about the sport of boxing. So I love having the brothers on here with me. They're a very good support system. And I want to say shout out to the chat, everybody who had come in to listen to us this evening. We had quite a few people who came in over that last 45 minutes, and that was nice to see that the audience picked up. You can email Stormybman. It's right there on the ticker there. It's like in the eye of the storm 4@gmail.com. I still drop videos too, but as of late I've been working on getting my production quality up to a certain standard. Trying my best there with that, so don't make too much fun of me out there, because I'm doing my best. I'm an old guy trying this young man stuff. And I want to say you could also catch my new shows of the Chop Session Kung Fu Edition, where I talk about Kung Fu movies, and they come at random. But we take it movie by movie, and we talk about the films as much as we can, and what goes on with the productions and the people who starred in them and stuff like that. So that's a great side piece of information of what to expect from the channel. The Kung Fu Chop Session, covering Kung Fu films. And then don't forget the other show, In the Eye of the Storm. That is a show that is done bi-weekly, and we have a show coming up tomorrow morning with special guest Junior the Truth is going to be rocking with Stormybman on In the Eye of the Storm tomorrow morning. That's 10 a.m. Central Time. Junior the Truth will be the guest for that show. So that's all that we have for you at this time. I want to say again, thanks for Reggie, who had to leave us, but he's still in our hearts out there, and he's still in the chat. So he's out there doing his thing, and you guys can come back and check out Stormybman. I'm always going to be here talking mess, till I can't talk no more, or good man shuts me down and I'm dead and gone, but I'm still alive, and I'm still here to talk to you guys, let you know what's happening. Shout out to the LDBC, the entire LDBC boxing community, Lions Den. You brothers have been good to me, taking good care of me. We're doing good things, and I'm bringing up the rear, so keep your eyes out for me. The storm is coming. That's all I have for you this evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to say peace and have a good night.